and welcome back to Sages of the Ages, Remembering Forgotten Wisdom. We're your sage-seeking sisters. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Stacy.
And today we have with us...
Nick.
Welcome. So the first question that we have for you is, what do you feel the purpose of your life is?
The purpose, I've always felt the purpose of my life was salvation, was to make this life worthwhile enough that I can have, eternal life afterwards.
And I think also helping others find
Well, that's,
salvation.
how do you do that then? Of course, that's always the simple answer. How do you do that? Well, you do that by doing all the things you're called to do. Help others, work with others, connect with God, all those positive things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what advice do you have for your younger self?
Mostly, because I did think about this, try not to be so afraid sometimes of trying new things or being afraid of working with others or being with others or being open. That sometimes can be very hindering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines, what would you say to the younger generations today? Like, how would you help advise them with all the differences today, or what do you see as the biggest differences today?
I'm not sure that I could advise them anything because this younger generation today has got way more issues and concerns than we ever had and growing up. And
what do you see as the biggest challenges that they're facing?
Like I said before, certainly the environment is the biggest issue. It's going to be. People used to think this was going to be long term, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's going to be way shorter than that. And I think we're seeing it now. It's going to drive people. It's going to require people to be, to work together and to be as much as they possibly can, like one giant global community. That's what it's going to need. And I think for far too many people, it's going to be the opposite. It was going to be and is already very divisive and pushing people to split rather than to come together. And that's going to be really hard for people to deal with.
Do you think that's a lot of because of technology or breakdown of community or...
Technology is probably, it's a two-edged sword. The technology certainly has the capability of helping people to actually work more together. But, we see it now, but people don't use it that way. It gets all too often, it becomes a way to actually create more division and to break people apart than it does to actually bring them together. The technology may, in fact, ultimately be our salvation because it may help us to overcome all of the deficits that have built up over the years in the environment. Maybe. Or maybe we just all move to Mars.
Might be an option soon.
Oh, boy. But there is silver lining, because there's a great need for connecting.
Yeah, I think that's
in a real way. Yeah.
I really think that's the only way people are going to survive. That society's going to survive.
Well, so you mentioned how much more, the young people have to deal with today. What is different from how you grew up, or what do you see as the biggest?
And of course, I think about how I grew up, not about how everybody grows up.
Right.
But I think, regardless, no matter how people were, how some people don't have as good as others and all that kind of stuff. But I think on any level of society, on any level of difficulty or ease, everything has gotten worse. So if people didn't have it that great when I was growing up, those same people are having it way, way worse right now than it was then. That's what I think anyway. But I think it's not safe. It was safe then.
Yeah.
Safer. It was, and therefore more open. People were not as concerned about how they have to approach everybody else, and can I say this and then can I do that, and it was more comfortable, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So how do you think that we could get it back, maybe, to how things used to be?
You're never going to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
It never comes back.
It'll evolve though into something.
It'll evolve into something else. Maybe compared to my generation, maybe if people are forced to come together better, to work in community better, some of the things that my generation could not do, in terms of overtly focusing on issues of diversity and on focusing on really reaching out to people who are not like you, where technology may help. It's helped some. Those things that we could hide under the rug, it can't be hidden quite so much anymore. And in the end, society may well actually be better for it as a whole, even if it's not as comfortable as it was when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm. Get comfortable in the discomfort that's in your face.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be.
I mean, for me, I feel like there's a lot, like the random acts of violence is what's different. But I still feel like, people were kidnapped and there were accidents that happened. But I think it's more the random acts of violence that are different today. People didn't go into public places and just,
That's one of the worst things I think about technology. I really do think that's technology driven. I think crazy people get to encourage each other online, so the same person who would have just been hiding in his basement flubbing his lips now is out there with a weapon. Oh, I'm going to do this and do it better. I think that's a problem. But also, I have to say, issues of race and diversity, where people were able to ignore that much more easily, and when I was growing up, is not so ignorable. And one more thing about that too, and this is a lot of this has to do with environment too. Populations have shifted so much that when we were growing up, in my generation, most everybody was able to sit in a community of people who were like themselves, and did not have to deal with people who were not like themselves. White or black or whatever it was, everybody lived in their own little ghetto and did not have to interact with other people. Right?
So it was more segregated.
Yeah. Today, because of migrations and movements, even within this country as well as from outside of this country to this country, that doesn't happen anymore. It's almost not avoidable. There's always some places in the country where they're still avoiding that, but you cannot walk down the street anymore. When I was a kid, I could walk down the street in Pittsburgh and never see a black person. Seriously. And I could go to school and never see somebody that was not of my group. That's not possible today, and that alone, I think, has been very beneficial for society as a whole. Eventually, that's what I think.
Even though I do feel like our area is still a little bit more segregated than other areas in the country.
Well,
talking from people who've lived in other places,
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
But you also, I don't know, what you thinking of this neighborhood?
No, not neighborhood, just Pittsburgh.
Really? Okay, in Pittsburgh, you never saw a Hindu, you never saw a Buddhist, you never saw
Latino.
You never saw Latinos. You never saw other religions. You never saw other obvious ethnicities that were different. It's all over.
So you've
now.
seen a big change, yeah.
Oh,
so
huge.
That's,
And so, is this better or worse? I don't know. It's different. It's different.
There's silver lining, though.
Respect and love is the main thing.
Yes.
Respect and love each other.
Yes.
Have to.
That's it. Yeah.
So how do you define love?
I think it's being willing to be open to others, to receive from somebody else, hopefully the good, but also the bad, trying to do your best to give to somebody else, hopefully the good, and unfortunately sometimes the bad, but we're being willing to be open to the other person for who as they are, to accept people as they are, because people are a mix, and I think love requires the ability to accept another person without trying to, I don't know, make that other person somebody else, or to pretend that other person is somebody that they really aren't, but to get to know them as much as you can as to who they are. That's what
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, what do you think has been like your greatest life lessons?
I find my greatest life lesson. It kind of feeds into this. Being learning to be more tolerant of others and of their views, not caving and saying, oh, well, you know, I just have to accept and agree with everything that everybody else says, but being willing to be tolerant of who they are and accept who they are for what they are, and it doesn't have to mean you have to assimilate the same things, or, you know, agree. If you don't agree, you don't agree. But be able to, be able to take people like they are, and then work with it from that, work with them from that direction. That's
I mean,
it
it sounds like like trying to understand, right? Because can you really love if you're not fully open to understanding?
And understanding is an awful lot of it. That's true. I mean, but really understanding is only a beginning. Understanding is, you can understand and still not accept.
Yeah.
And again, accept in the sense of accept that that's who they are, not accept in the sense of, well, I have to compromise who I am so that we can be the same.
There'll be different values.
So understanding is only a beginning, because there's a lot of people who understand each other very well, and they hate each other, and they do violence to each other, even though they understand. You know, that's just the start. So.
Now, is there a quote or advice that you would like to share with our viewers?
Or something that
that
you try and live by. Oh, and what is your wellness routine, before we forget your wellness routine?
It was like spiritual, mental, and physical. A spiritual routine, I pray, I try to connect with God. Mental routine, I read a lot, and actually I'm an old person, so I do puzzles.
That's great.
Yeah, and physical routine, Zippo.
Walks, don't you walk?
We do walk every day
That
because
counts.
because your mother wants me to walk. So I do that. But quite frankly, if I wasn't with somebody else, I wouldn't do that either. I'm still riding on the physical well-being of my high school and early college years, when I was very active and sports-like and stuff. I'm kind of riding on that.
Well, any quote or
just advice that you have. Life advice.
You've always given great life advice. Yes, you have.
Life advice.
Or something
do your best. I try to do my best every day to be the best version I can be that day. Not always a great version, but the best version I can be that day. And I try to not be too unhappy about the stuff that I can't
control.
Fix or control.
Oh, amen.
Well, thank
That's
you.
awesome. Thank you.
You're
Don't
welcome.
forget to like, subscribe, and share to our channel.